Ducheney, Dutton, Emerson, Flores, Hancock, Harmon, Hollingsworth, Huff, Kehoe, Leno, Liu, Lowenthal, Neguta McLeod, Oropesa, Padilla, Pavley, Price, Romero, Runner, Smidian, Steinberg, Strickland, Walters, Wiggins, Wolk, Wright, Weiland, Yee. Madam President, we are lacking a quorum.
The desk notices the absence of a quorum. Sergeants, please call all of the offices. Ask these senators to please report to the chamber for this afternoon's business. Senator Cox, it is so good to see you this afternoon. Members, a quorum is present. Would the members and our guests be on the rail and in the gallery please rise? We will be led in prayer this afternoon by our guest chaplain, Reverend Dexter McNamara, Community Ministries Liaison with the California Emergency Food Link, after which, please remain standing. We will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag by our beloved Senator, Senator Cox.
It's an honor to be with you again this afternoon. Would you please join me in prayer? Loving God of us all, as we seek to serve you and the people of this state, may we have both a sense of urgency and a sense of patience. A sense of urgency in dealing with the problems and challenges we face in our wonderful state. An urgency to meet the needs of our many residents struggling to make ends meet. an urgency to help our businesses be the force that moves our economy forward, an urgency to safeguard the health and well-being of our people, an urgency to protect the land and the water and the air of which we are stewards, an urgency to govern responsibly and honestly and transparently. We need urgency, and we need patience. The patience to listen respectfully to each other, the patience to carefully pursue actions that will benefit the widest number of our state's residents, not just our own immediate circle, the patience to resolutely hope and believe, even when hoping and believing may seem foolish, to hope and believe that by faithfully working together we can reclaim a bright future for our children and grandchildren and generations to come in California. Help us, we pray, to act with urgency and with patience. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. Members under privileges of the floor. Messages from the Assembly will be deemed read. Reports of committee will be deemed read and amendments adopted. Under motions, resolutions, and notices, without objection, Joint Rule 62A will be suspended to allow the Labor and Industrial Relations Committee to hear AB 1696 on Wednesday, June 30th, without 4 days' notice in the daily file. Additionally, without objection, Senate Rule 21.5K2 will be suspended to allow the Labor and Industrial Relations Committee to reconsider AB 1696 on Wednesday. Finally, without objection, Joint Rule 62A will be suspended to allow the Business Professions and Economic Development Committee to hear AB 1570 on Thursday, July 1, without 4 days' notice in the daily file. Senator Huff, did you wish to make your motion under motions and resolutions? Senator Huff? We need a microphone for Senator Huff, please.
No, testing. There we go. Thank you, Madam President. I request unanimous consent to suspend Senate Rule 29.3 to take up file item 13, Assembly Bill 346.
Without objection. Secretary, please read file item 13.
Assembly Bill 346 by Assemblymember Conway, enacting to schools and declaring the urge thereof to take effect immediately.
Senator Huff.
Thank you, Madam President. AB 346 by Assemblywoman Conway fixes an error from her bill AB 1025, chaptered last year and going into effect on July 1st. Last year's bill requires volunteer coaches on a school campus to have background check before working with kids. This bill had the unintended consequence of requiring duplicate fingerprints of non-certificated school employees at a cost to those employees. AB 346 corrects that error by allowing school districts the option of having the background checks done through the district or the commission on teacher credentialing. Bill supported by California School Boards Association, School Employees Association, California School Administrators, After School All-Stars Los Angeles. There's no opposition and supported on both sides. I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll. This is an urgency measure.
Onnested? Aye. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Calderon? Cedillo? Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? Aye. Emerson? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Aye. Huff?
Aye.
Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Price.
Fixes it.
Aye. Romero.
Aye.
Aye. Runner. Semidian. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Walters. Aye. Wiggins. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Yee. Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Ashburn. Aye. Calderon. Cedillo. Corbett. Correa. Aye. Denham. Aye. Liu. Oropesa. Pavley. Runner. Smidian. Strickland. Wiggins. Wyland.
Ayes 28, noes 0 on the urgency. Ayes 28, noes 0 on the measure. The bill is passed.
Request immediate transmittal to the Assembly.
Decibel note, immediate transmittal. Senator Ducheney, for what purpose do you rise?
Motions and resolutions, Madam Chair.
Please proceed.
With a request from the author to remove AB 2309, file item 103, off of the consent calendar for purposes of technical amendments.
The decibel note. Senator Negrete McLeod, for what purpose do you rise?
Under motions and resolutions to remove file item number 28, which is on the special consent calendar, to please move it to the inactive. Item 28, AB 2798.
Decibel note. Senator Correa, for what purpose do you
Under
rise?
motions and resolutions, request permission to have my son Andres Correa join me on the floor.
Without objection, your son is welcome. Senator Liu, for what purpose do you rise?
Motions and resolutions.
Please proceed.
Please remove file item 100, AB 1841 Buchanan, from the consent calendar at the request of the author.
Decibel note. Introduction and first reading of bills. Bills are deemed read. Consideration of the daily file. Second reading file. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 1316 with amendments. AB 2397, 2774, 2696 with amendments, 2667 with amendments, 2464 with amendments, 2092 with amendments, ACR 127 with amendments, AB 1902, 605 with amendments, 2775, 2461 with amendments, 346 with amendments, 2314 with amendments, and 1263 with amendments.
Second reading file bills have been read. Members, we are at unfinished business. Unfinished business. These are file items 18 through 23. Is there any member who wishes to take up an item under unfinished business? File items 18 through 23. Seeing none, we will go to Assembly third reading. Senator Price, you wish to take up file item 80?
Yes.
Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 918 by Assembly Member Adams, enacting to charitable donations.
Thank you, Madam President. AB 918 will create a level playing field for nonprofit organizations that rely on private clothing and household items donated to support their charitable programs. The number of donation boxes being placed in parking lots and street corners across the state has escalated in the last couple of years. In many cases, these boxes lack adequate information regarding the organization that will benefit from the donations. In some cases, the box is misleading, giving the donor the impression that their donation will benefit a charitable cause rather than benefit a for-profit recycling company. AB 918 requires disclosure requirements on unattended donation boxes, including the name of the sponsoring organization, their address, contact number, and whether or not the organization is a for-profit or non-profit entity. AB 918 passed the Senate Local Government Committee with bipartisan support and has passed the Assembly with no votes. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, is there any objection to substituting the unanimous roll call? Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested. Aye. Alquist. Aye. Ashburn. Calderon. Aye. Cedillo. Cogdill. I. Corbett. Correa. Cox. No. Denham. DeSaulnier. I. Ducheney. Dutton. I. Emerson. I. Flores. I. Hancock. I. Harmon. I. Hollingsworth. No. Huff. I. Kehoe. I. Leno. I. Liu. I. Lowenthal. I. Negrete McLeod. I. Oropesa. Padilla. I. Pavley. Price. I. Romero. I. Runner. Smidian. Steinberg. I. Strickland. Walters. Wiggins. Wolk. I. Wright. I. Wyland. Yee. Yee, I.
Call the absent members.
Ashburn. Cedillo. Corbett. Correa. I. Denham. I. Ducheney. I. Oropesa. Pavley. Runner. I. Smidian. Strickland. I. Walters. Wiggins. Wyland.
Ayes 28, noes 2. Senator Price moves a call. Members, we're going to put measures on call temporarily. A couple of members have gone to the Assembly where their bills are being heard. Senator Yee, we are going to take up file item 56.
That's correct.
Secretary, please read file item 56.
Assembly Bill 1658 by Assembly Member Liu, an act linked to public retirement.
Senator Yee. This is AB 564. AB 564. File item 52. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 564 by Assembly Member Portantino, an act linked to substance abuse.
Thank you very much, Madam President and Senators. This is an important bill that will provide clear oversight over the use of taxpayers' money for drug treatment programs throughout the state of California. Specifically, what this bill will do is to place limits on executive compensation by the National Institute on Health for federal grants, that they shall, in fact, limit the executive compensation from all public money provided to a drug treatment program. Additionally, this bill will specify that an executive who collects rent from a treatment facility may not receive any compensation from public fund unless they can meet the standards set forth by Office of Management and Budget relating to cost principles for a nonprofit organization. In these tough times, we just really got to ensure that as many of our dollars go for direct services rather than indirect service. This issue came to light when it was found that an executive was making $400,000 to run a nonprofit funded by public dollars while simultaneously owning an interest in the company, collecting $2.7 million a year in rent. And that's how I think some of those dollars are, in fact, not used for direct services. And with that, urge an aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Members, this is the reconsideration of this item. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested. Aye. Alquist. Aye. Ashburn. Calderon. Aye. Cedillo. Cogdill. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. Cox. Aye. Denham. No. Cox, aye to no. Denham. DeSaulnier. Aye. Ducheney. Aye. Dutton. No. Emerson. Aye. Flores. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Aye. Hollingsworth. No. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. Aye. Leno. Aye. Liu. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Oropesa. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Price. Aye. Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? No. Semidian? Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? Aye. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee, aye.
Ayes 25, noes 4. Senator Yee moves a call. Senator Alquist? Senator Alquist, you have 2 items. Do you wish to take up file item 79 first? Yes. Secretary, please read file item 79.
Assembly Bill 1887 by Assembly Member Valines, enacting health care coverage, making an appropriation therefore, and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be starting with AB 1887 by Assembly Member Valines, which is double joined with my SB 227. AB 1887. As part of the health care reform, states have the option to participate in the federal high-risk pool or to set up their own program. These pools serve 10 to 20% of the population of people who are considered uninsurable by health plans because they have a pre-existing medical condition, thank you, such as asthma, diabetes, heart disease, or cancer. California is one of 30 states that is going to be running its own program. I'd like to state that the program will be fully funded by the federal government, and that the reason why I think California ought to run its own program is that we have a 19-year history of better administering this kind of program, this high-risk program, through Mr. Mibb, something that the federal government has never done before. So by doing it ourselves, we do it with an entity that has a proven track record. We more likely can have California vendors. And the bill does 2 things. It creates the fund to receive the federal money made available to California, and it allows the state to have confidential discussions with health plans about contracting with them to participate in this new program. And I might also add, both of these bills have an urgency clause, which means they are 27-vote bills.
Any discussion or debate? Senator Onestad.
Madam Chair, members, I rise in opposition to this measure. At a time when this state is more than $20 billion in arrears and cannot come up with a budget that seems to satisfy even a close approximation of that number for the last several years, now we're contemplating asking the people of California to take on the risk of a failed program, that is the Mr. Mibb program in California, which, folks, has not had any money and has had a waiting list for years and years, cannot provide the services, and yet because they have that kind of experience, we're being told that kind of experience is better than the federal's non-experience. Well, folks, in 3 years, the legislative analyst says the federal program will be out of money. If the state assumes this risk, be prepared that the increased risk that we take by approving this bill will now be borne and on the shoulders of the taxpayers of California. This is bad public policy to take on this risk at this time, especially when we know that the federal health program is not a done deal. We cannot afford this. I want you to think about that and vote no. Let the federal government, who instituted this program, take on the risk for the first 3 years, and let's follow what 20-some other states have done and just said, we'll wait and see.
Any other discussion or debate? Senator Alquist, you may close.
Thank you. I believe I already addressed Senator Onestad's comments in my opening. I ask for your aye vote.
Secretary, call the roll.
Onestad? No. Alquist?
Aye.
Aye. Ashburn? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Emerson? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Price? Aye. Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? Aye. Smidian? Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? Aye. Walters? No. Wiggins? Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Ashburn? Aye. Oropesa? Pavley? Smidian? Wiggins? Wyland?
Ayes 27, noes 8 on the urgency. Ayes 27, noes 8 on the measure. The bill is passed. Your second item is Senate Bill 227, item 19. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 227 by Senator Alquist, an act relating to health care coverage, making an appropriation therefore, and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Thank you, Madam President. The same things I said about the first bill pretty much apply to the second bill. There is no, this is fully funded by the federal government. I think the key point is that we have the opportunity to ensure those who have been uninsured with pre-existing conditions such as asthma, diabetes, cancer, and heart disease. Mr. Mibb has a very good record of working with high-risk pools. The bill, specifically the language in my bill, protects the state general fund, and I think it's something that we really need to do, and ask for your support.
Is there any discussion or debate? Members, is there any objection to substituting? There is objection. Call the roll. This is an urgency measure.
Onnested? No. Alquist?
Aye.
Aye. Ashburn? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Emerson? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? Aye. Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Walters? Strickland, no. Walters, no. Wiggins? Wolk? Steinberg, aye. Wolk, aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Yee. Correa, aye. Oropesa? Pavley? Wiggins? Wyland? Yee. Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Oropesa? Pavley? Wiggins? Wyland?
Ayes 26, noes 9 on the urgency. Ayes 26, no 9 on the measure. Senator Alquist moves a call. Members, we're going to return to the Assembly Bill third reading file. I'm going to ask if any members are prepared at this time to take up a bill that is on Assembly Bill's third reading file. Is there any member who's prepared to do so? Senator Leno, which item?
Item 53.
Which item?
53.
File item 53. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Joint Resolution 15 by Assemblymember De Leon relative to the Uniting American Families Act.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, this joint resolution urges the United States Congress to pass and the President to sign the Uniting American Families Act, either as a standalone piece of legislation or as part of comprehensive immigration reform. You know, one of the over 1,000+ benefits that comes automatically with a marriage license is the opportunity to sponsor citizenship for one's spouse in the case of a binational relationship. Clearly, same-sex couples are not allowed to marry with the exception of about 5 states in this country. But federally, of course, because of the Defense of Marriage Act, they are all unable to make use of that federal benefit that comes with a marriage license to sponsor citizenship. You know, our immigration policy is based on a principle of family reunification, but this current status for same-sex couples unable to access that federal benefit that comes automatically with a marriage license literally rips families apart. Children from their parents, couples from one another. There are about 39,000 binational same-sex couples living in the United States right now, and each one comes with a heartbreaking story. And because of this, of course, there are those who would potentially try to get around it by making marriages that are not based on love and family, but just to get the marriage license so citizenship can be sponsored and so life can go on. We should not be putting families in this situation. We should not be ripping children from their parents. I know so many couples in this situation, and when I talk to them about it, it just confounds me that at a time when we're fighting so many wars, we're fighting violent crime in our streets, that we would tell these couples that our government can't abide your love. That our government can't abide your love. So they have to go to dozens of other countries around the world who can abide love. So this is something that needs to be done. There are bills pending in the U.S. Congress right now. U.S. Senator Patrick Leahy has a bill, along with Congressman Gerald Nadler, which would end this legal barrier to immigration for same-sex couples. It's time that California speak up and let our Congress and President know that we're with them in their efforts to bring families back together, not to rip them apart. By supporting this joint resolution, AJR 15, California will go on record as saying that when we believe in supporting family values, we mean all families, not just some. I would ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? No. Denham? DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Emerson? No. Flores?
Aye.
Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? No. Semidian? Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee aye. Harmon no. Denham no.
Ayes 23, noes 12. The resolution is adopted. Senator Kehoe, you're recognized to your desk.
Thank you, Mr. President. For a brief announcement, members, I think Senator Romero said it at the top of the hour. We're also delighted to have Senator Cox back with us. So, Dave, we want you to have these flowers from all of us. Best wishes.
Senator Cox. Welcome, Senator Cox. Welcome back. Senator Romero, you're recognized at your desk.
Permission to take up file item 96, please.
Without objection, will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 2026 by Assemblymember Arambula, enacting to post-secondary education.
Senator Romero.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. This bill makes it possible for students to pursue their educational dreams by allowing the acceptance of the matricula consular as a primary form of identification for the ETS in order for students to take a standardized test needed for admission to graduate school. This measure does not guarantee the students admission into any school. It simply allows them the identification that they need in order to sit for the examination. We believe it's a fair measure that simply gives all students who are prepared and ready to be tested an opportunity to compete with their peers for acceptance into a program. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Romero. Any members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing, hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? No. Denham? DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Emerson? Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Price? Aye. Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? Walters? No. Strickland, no. Wiggins? Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee, aye. Runner, no. Emerson, no.
Ayes 22, noes 11. The bill is passed. Senator Hollingsworth, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to take up file item 98, please.
File item 98. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1911 by Assemblymember Garrick, enacting to the Ronald Reagan Centennial Commission and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Thank you, Madam President. Senators, this measure by Assemblymember Garrick is to honor the life of Ronald Reagan. The bill would establish the Ronald Reagan Centennial Commission in order to celebrate the 100th anniversary of his birth, which will occur on February 6th of 2011. And it would ask the Commission to create ways in which Californians can appropriately remember his accomplishments and promote the history of his work and achievements. As you know, President Reagan was the only California governor to serve as President of the United States so far, and is deserving of this honor as we approach his 100th birthday. This bill, importantly, it prohibits the Commission from using any public funds to carry out these objectives, and it would be supported solely by private funds, and it would sunset January 1, 2012. Senators, I'd ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? Aye. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? Aye. Emerson? Aye. Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Harmon, no to aye. Hollingsworth? Aye. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Price. I. Romero.
Aye.
I. Runner. I. Smidian. I. Steinberg. I. Strickland. I. Walters. I. Wiggins. Wolk. I. Wright. I. Wyland. Yee. Yee, aye.
Ayes 32, no 0 on the urgency. Ayes 32, no 0 on the measure. The bill is passed. Senator Hancock, which item do you wish to take up?
File item 88.
File item 88. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Joint Resolution 39 by Assemblymember Torlakson relative to common state education standards.
Thank you. The Common Core State Standards Initiative of the National Governors Association and the Council of Chief State School Officers is in the process of establishing a set of clear educational standards that states can voluntarily adopt. English and math have been completed. This resolution calls upon them to adopt common standards for the core subjects of social science and science, and to consider common standards in additional subjects of foreign language, arts, physical education, and career technical education. This bill passed the Assembly with 70 votes. I would ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Call the roll.
Onnested. Alquist. Aye. Ashburn. Calderon. Aye. Cedillo. Cogdill. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. Cox. Aye. Denham. Aye. Dusanier. Aye. Ducheney. Dutton. Aye. Emerson. Aye. Flores. Hancock.
Aye.
Aye. Harmon. Aye. Hollingsworth. Aye. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. Aye. Leno. Aye. Liu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Oropesa. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Price. Aye. Romero.
Aye.
Aye. Runner. Smidian. Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Aye. Walters. Wiggins. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Wyland. Yee. Yee, aye. Cedillo, aye. Ducheney, aye. Runner, aye. Wright, aye.
Ayes 31, no 0. The bill is passed.
Madam President, while I have the floor, I'd like to remove file item 126, AB 2088 by Adams, off special consent for amendments.
The desk will note. Senator Correa, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam President, that is. I'd like to take up item 56 and 57.
File item 56 and 57. Let's begin with 56. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1658 by Assemblymember Liu, an act relating to public retirement.
Thank you. This bill authorizes a former employee of the LA Office of Public Safety who becomes a deputy as a result of the consolidation now proposed to purchase credit as a safety member for the time served in OPS. Bill also requires that an individual choosing to do so must also pay for an amount equal to the difference between the member and employer contribution, together with regular interest on the amount required to be deposited.
Is there any discussion or debate? Is there any objection to the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 34, no 0. The bill is passed. File item 57. Secretary, please read. The desk has asked for some time to process materials. Secretary, please read. File item 57.
Assembly Bill 1739 by Assemblymember Liu, an act relating to county employees' retirement.
Thank you. This bill authorizes Los Angeles County and districts within the county to require that a member who becomes permanently incapacitated for the performance of duty within his or her county or district as a direct result of injury arising out of active military service while on military leave be retired for non-service connected disability regardless of age or years of service. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 34, no 0, the bill is passed. Senator Huff, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to take up file item 84, ACR 140.
File item 84, Secretary, please read.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 140 by Assemblymember Adams relative to incarceration.
Thank you, Madam President. The State Criminal Alien Assistance Program, which is part of the Immigration and Nationality Act, requires the federal government to reimburse state and local governments for costs associated with incarcerated undocumented foreign nationals. The federal government's failure to compensate our state for these costs has severely exacerbated problems in our prisons related to funding and overcrowding. For the last reporting period, the state of California received just over $118 million for 32,806 eligible inmates, roughly $3,600 per inmate, pennies on the dollar when the Legislative Analyst's Office estimates the annual cost of incarcerating an inmate in a state prison in California is actually $51,670. Counties and cities fare even worse. For the last reporting period, they received just under $44 million in reimbursement for 66,386 eligible inmates, which equates to $659 per inmate. Immigration policy and controlling our nation's border are clear, fundamental responsibilities of the federal government. The federal government has repeatedly failed to discharge its obligations, and as a consequence, high-impact states like California face extraordinary costs associated with incarcerating these inmates. California's prison system's in a state of emergency due in part to lack of federal reimbursements. This ACR will demonstrate the legislature's genuine interest and dissatisfaction in the federal government's failure to adequately reimburse our state for the real and significant costs associated with incarcerating undocumented foreign nationals, an issue that must be resolved given our current prison crisis. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested, Alquist, aye. Ashburn, aye. Calderon, aye. Cedillo, Cogdill, aye. Corbett, aye. Correa, aye. Cox, aye. Denham, aye. DeSaulnier, aye. Ducheney, aye. Dutton, Emerson, Dutton, aye. Emerson, aye. Flores, Hancock, Harmon, Hollingsworth, aye. Huff, aye. Kehoe, Leno, aye. Liu, aye. Lowenthal, aye. Nguyen-Makad, aye. Oropesa, Padilla, aye. Pavley, Price, Romero,
aye.
Aye. Runner, aye. Smidian, aye. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, aye. Walters, aye. Wiggins, Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Wyland, Yee. Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Onnested, aye. Cedillo, aye. Flores, Hancock, aye. Harmon, aye. Kehoe, aye. Oropesa, Pavley, Price, Wiggins, Wyland.
Ayes 33, no 0. The measure is passed. Senator DeSaulnier, which item do you care to have heard?
I have two, Madam President, item 50 and 52.
15?
50, 50, AB 1514, and 52 is AB 2772.
All right, let's begin with file item 50. Secretary, please read. File item 47. Secretary,
Thank you.
please read.
I stand corrected.
Assembly Bill 1514 by Assemblymember Hayashi, enacting to the Political Reform Act of 1974.
Thank you, members. AB 1514 will get some transparency when it comes to slate mailers and their financial contributions. Current law requires slate mailer organizations to file semi-annual campaign statements if they have received 500 or more from any person for the support or opposition to any candidate or ballot measure, or spent $500 or more to produce one or more slate mailings. AB 1514 requires all slate mailer organizations to file semi semi-annual campaign reports, regardless how much money they have spent or received. We think this increases disclosure and, as I said, transparency. The amendments, we've heard this once before, are technical in nature, and I would ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate on this item? Senator Ashburn? Okay. On this item, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? Aye. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier?
Aye.
Aye. Ducheney? Dutton? Aye. Emerson? Aye. Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Hollingsworth? Aye. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Price?
53 is the one.
Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? Aye. Semidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Ducheney? Aye. Flores? Harmon? Oropesa? Harmon? Aye. Pavley? Price? Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Wiggins? Wyland?
Ayes 34, noes 0. The bill is passed. Next item,
Next item is file item 49. It's AB 2772.
file item 49. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 2772 by the Assembly Committee on Labor and Employment, an act relating to employment.
Thank you, Madam President. This bill from the Assembly Labor Committee clarifies or restores the legislative intent for provisions of law dealing with employer appeals of the Labor Commissioner to the Superior Court. A 2006 decision by the California Court of Appeal made this law necessary. This bill simply specifies the original intent of the law that an employer must post a wage bond first as a condition of appealing a decision of the Labor Commissioner to the Superior Court, and I would ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
We did a minute ago. Senator Onnested?
Senator Onnested, did you wish to be heard on this item? Yes. No. Senator Ashburn, you're still on the subsequent item, correct? On this item, any discussion or debate? Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Calderon? Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Denham? DeSaulnier? Aye. Denham, no. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Emerson? Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Price? Aye. Romero? Aye. Runner? No. Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee, aye. Onnested, no.
Call the absent members.
Calderon? Correa? Cox? Emerson? Flores? Oropesa? Pavley, Wiggins, Wyland.
Ayes 19, noes 11. Senator DeSaulnier moves a call. Senator Ashburn, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Madam President. To take up file item 69, AB 2704.
File item 69. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 2704 by Assemblymember Gaines, an act relating to transportation.
Thank you, Madam President. On a day like today, it hardly seems appropriate that we would be talking about snow removal, but this measure does deal with the issue of removing snow from the areas of our state where removing that snow from the highways is important for the safety and for the economic activity of those regions. And this measure, which did pass out of the Assembly on a 73-0 vote, maintains the funding for snow removal in those critical areas. I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any objection to substituting our unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 34, noes 0. The bill is passed. Members, is there any other item to be taken up under Assembly Bill's third reading file? If not, Senator Cedillo, which item? Which item? File item 54. Secretary, please read. File item 54.
Assembly Joint Resolution 37 by Assemblymember De Leon, relative to immigration.
Members, I was encouraged by Senator Hollingsworth to vote for the previous resolution for President Reagan. President Reagan's noted as one of our California governors who became the president of this country. And one of the points that was brought to my attention, and I mentioned this before, brought up as I was in Boyle Heights, my mother said, if you don't have anything good to say about somebody, don't say anything at all. And so one of the virtues of President Reagan, besides his tremendous commitment to social welfare programs, his expansion of the state to meet the needs of all its people, was his courageous leadership in the mid-'80s, much like today, at a time where there was tremendous acrimony, economic stress on the nation. The president was very courageous and forthright in making sure that we recognize immigration as a virtue of this nation, that this nation is uniquely a nation of immigrants, and that he recognized that our laws were broken and they needed to be fixed, much like today. And so in that spirit, in the spirit that was put forth about his leadership, I have resolution AJR 37. In the same spirit, Kevin De Leon comes forward, like President Reagan, calling upon the nation to call upon the president to fulfill his commitments, to recognize the challenges that confront this nation. This is very much like the proposal that Senator Harman introduced just 2 weeks ago, that I stood up to support and said that there would be a similar proposal coming right back from the Assembly. This is essentially the Assembly version of Senator Harman's proposal that calls for the President to lead and the Congress to act to bring us immigration reform, protect our borders, stabilize our economy, and create a system of laws that all people can comply with. This is very important. It's so important that most recently we've seen more energy from the business community last Thursday, more energy from the conservatives and the evangelicals last Thursday, more energy from Democrats and progressives last Thursday. Just a whole movement of people calling upon the president to fulfill his campaign promises, his commitments, and his duty as president to lead on this issue, and for the Congress to act to bring comprehensive immigration reform to this nation. And I ask that you join us, as we did with Senator Harman, in a bipartisan fashion to make this call on the president for immigration reform for our state and our nation. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Harman wants to speak.
Senator Harman.
Thank you very much, Madam President. This Assembly joint resolution is, in fact, very, very similar to the one that I authored and passed off of this floor with bipartisan support a week or so ago, with a very strong recommendation from Senator Cedillo, for which I thank him. I won't bore you with all the details. It's one of these resolutions that has multiple whereas and whereas, but a couple of them are certainly correct. The first one, whereas the United States was founded by immigrants, and the second one, current immigration system is broken, and the third, whereas it's estimated 11 million undocumented aliens, immigrants I should say, are in this country, and the list of whereases and whereases goes on until the last whereas on page 3 at line 22, commencing at line 22, says a comprehensive approach to solve our broken immigration system should include the following elements. So this is really the heart and soul of the resolution, of what the resolution is recommending should be included. There are 6 items listed. If you are looking at it, I'll skip over the first one, but the second one, improvement of economic situation of all workers, I would support that. Third one, reform the visa program in order to keep families together. That's reasonable. 4, implementation of smart, effective enforcement measures targeted at the worst violators of immigration and labor laws. I would support that. Prioritizing immigrant integration into our communities and country, absolutely. And 6, the final one, respect for the due process rights of everyone in the United States. Now the problem is that it's the first one that's in the final whereas paragraph, which says a plan for providing legal status with a path to citizenship to undocumented immigrants who are working and living in the United States. And that is amnesty. And I cannot support amnesty. I hear the floor manager saying that it's shaking his head, that it's not amnesty. It certainly looks like it to me. It's a very, very hot issue with constituents in my district, and frankly, I don't think it's the right thing to do. If that clause in the resolution was deleted, I believe I could support this resolution, because we do need to overhaul our immigration laws in California, or in the United States. We need to get the President and the Congress moving on this. That's what my resolution said when it was voted on here a couple of weeks ago on the Senate floor. It didn't call out specifically what to do. It simply said the federal government needs to provide us with immigration reform, and let the people in Washington figure out what they're going to do and hash it out and listen to the people in their districts and get the job done. But I'm concerned that this bill, or this resolution, because of the inclusion of the reference to what I call amnesty, prohibits me from supporting the bill, so I must reluctantly, for that reason, indicate that I will be voting no.
Senator Cedillo, you may close.
Amnesty, shamnesty. With all due respect, Senator, this bill may be more explicit than yours, but with all due respect, I think it's basically yours in essence. But let me go to the crux of your concern. No one in this nation is arguing, who's serious about immigration, is arguing for amnesty. So, for example, in this instance, if you violated the law, you're not qualified. If you didn't pay your taxes, you're not qualified. If you don't learn English, you're not qualified. So there's no amnesty here. Amnesty connotes, one, a judicial finding that you broke the law, and two, then a forgiveness of that. None of that is in this bill. This is distinct. If anything, this is a distinction from the Reagan immigration reform known as IRCA in the 80s. And so I hear this a lot. I've heard this conversation, and I think it's time for us to transcend the politics, to move away from the rhetoric that creates the partisanship, and really recognize the essence and the sum and substance of this bill, which calls for comprehensive immigration reform, much like your proposal. You've acknowledged all the whereases, and simply ask you to rethink this assertion that doesn't have a basis in fact or law that amnesty exists in this proposal. It does not, in fact, and as a result, I would again ask you to join us in a bipartisan fashion. I ask you to join us in this call for the President to lead and for Congress to act for comprehensive immigration reform today. I thank you, and I ask for an aye vote.
Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Emerson? No. Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? No. Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee, aye.
Ayes 21, noes 12. The bill is passed. Members, we're going to lift the call on file item 19. File item 19 by Senator Alquist. Secretary, please call the absent members.
Oropesa? Pavley?
Okay.
Aye. Wiggins? Wyland? Strickland? No to aye.
Ayes 28, noes 8 on the urgency. Ayes 28, noes 8 on the measure. The amendments are concurred in. Senator Corbett for file item 83. Secretary, please read. File item 83.
Assembly Joint Resolution 32 by Assemblymember Monning relative to gender discrimination.
Thank you very much, Madam President and members. In 1979, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. The Convention's primary focus is to address gender discrimination and inequity issues around the world. The United States of America is considered to be a major proponent of human rights as well as a leader of the democratic societies of the world. Yet it is the only industrialized nation in the world that has not ratified the treaty. Ratification of a treaty merely commits governments to take steps to ensure that women in this country will have the right to work, access to child care, adequate health care, and equal access to quality education. AGR 32 declares that the California State Legislature believes it is important to address gender equity issues and requests the United States Congress and Secretary of State to place the UN Treaty as a high priority in order to accelerate its passage through the United States Senate Foreign Relations Committee. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett?
Aye.
Aye. Correa? Cox? No. Denham? DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Emerson? No. Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? No. Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? Walters? No. Wiggins? Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Correa, aye. Denham. Flores. Hollingsworth. No. Oropesa. Padilla. Price. Strickland. Wiggins. Wyland.
Ayes 20, noes 11. Senator Corbett moves a call. Senator Corbett, you had one other item?
Yes, Madam President. I'd like to remove item 131, AB 2020, from the consent calendar at the request of the author for purpose of amendments.
The desk will note.
Thank you.
Senator Harman, for what purpose do you rise?
A similar request to remove from the special consent calendar file item 129, AB 973 by Strickland.
The desk will note.
Thank you.
Members, is there any other member who has an item to be taken up under Assembly Bill's third reading file? Assembly Bill's third reading file. Okay, we are going to go over then to unfinished business. Senator Yee has a couple of items. Senator Yee, file item 18.
That's correct.
Secretary, please read.
Senate Joint Resolution 24 by Senator Yee relative to violence against women.
Thank you very much, Madam President and Senators. This item is back for concurrence from the Assembly. The only amendments was that we added 45 co-authors asked for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Is there any objection to using our unanimous roll call? Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested. Alquist. Aye. Ashburn. Calderon. Aye. Cedillo. Cogdill. No. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. Cox. No. Denham. DeSaulnier. Aye. Ducheney. Aye. Dutton. No. Emerson. Flores. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Hollingsworth. No. Huff. Kehoe. Aye. Leno. Aye. Liu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Oropesa. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Romero.
Aye.
Aye. Runner. No. Smidian. Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Walters. Wiggins. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Yee. Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Onnested. Ashburn. Aye. Cedillo. Aye. Denham. Emerson. Flores. Harmon. Huff. Oropesa. Price. Strickland. Walters. Wiggins. Wyland.
Ayes 22, noes 5. The amendments are concurred in. Senator Steinberg, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
For purposes of a very special resolution, please. Madam President, today we honor a long-term employee of the State Senate who is retiring after 25 years of service to the state of California. Would Sandra McIntyre please come back here? This is a surprise. Thank you. How are you? Congratulations to you. You are surprised.
I'm utterly.
We pulled off the surprise, members of the Senate. And a wonderful surprise it is. Sandra worked for... Your whole family's here. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Sandra worked for the Legislative Council from 1983 to 2001. She's been in the office of the Secretary of the Senate in the very important office of engrossing and enrolling since 2001. And her resolution from Council sums up Sandra beautifully, and it's written on here. Sandra possesses a rare combination of warmth, compassion, thoughtfulness, grace, and beauty, which she combines with a world-class sense of humor, which we all need around this place, making her an absolute delight to work with. I know that in 2009 that you lost your wonderful husband, George, of 52 years, but today you are joined by your wonderful family, your children and your grandchildren, and we just want to say how much we're going to miss you here in the State Senate and to tell you just how much we appreciate your public service. Sandra?
Congratulations. Mike, at Senator Steinberg's desk, please.
I certainly have nothing prepared except to say it's been a total honor for me. Just walking into this building every day has been such a privilege, and I thank you all sincerely. Thank you again.
Congratulations. Senator Yee, file item 20. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 650 by Senator Yee, an act relating to improper governmental activities.
Thank you very much, Madam President and Senators. This item is coming back from the Assembly for concurrence, and what happened in the Assembly was amendments were taken to just simply now make the UC whistleblower protection exactly the same as the CSU whistleblower protection. With that, urge an aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Aye. Duchesne? Dutton? No. Emerson? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Romero? Aye. Runner? No. Smidian? Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? Walters? No. Wiggins? Wolk? Wright? Aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee, aye. Strickland, no. Onnested, no. Ashburn, no.
Call the absent members.
Correa? Aye. Duchesne? Liu? Oropesa? Price? Smidian? Aye. Wiggins? Wolk? Wyland?
Ayes 19, noes 13. Senator Yee moves a call. Senator Liu, file item 21. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 878 by Senator Liu, an act relating to local government.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, I ask for your aye vote on concurrence on SB 878. This is a district bill to help prevent property sale fraud and protect homeowners and renters in Los Angeles County. The only amendment made in the Assembly requires that reports be submitted to the Senate Judiciary Committee and the Assembly Local Government Committee rather than the Judiciary Committee in both houses. The bill is sponsored by the LA County Board of Supervisors. It has had extensive support and there's no opposition, and I ask for your Aye on concurrence.
Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? No. Desaunier? Aye. Ducheney? Dutton? Aye. Emerson? Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Hollingsworth? Aye. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Negrete McLeod? No. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Romero? Runner? Aye. Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? Aye. Walters? No. Wiggins? Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Ashburn, aye. Cogdill? Correa? No. Ducheney? Aye. Emerson? Aye. Harmon? Oropesa? Price? Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Wiggins? Wyland?
Ayes 28, noes 5. The amendments are concurred in. Senator Denham? Senator Denham, are you for file item 22?
Yes, ma'am.
Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 1229 by Senator Denham, enacting the vehicles.
Put it down. Madam President, members, SB 1229 removes the gray area in current law and clearly adds ATVs as implements of husbandry. This bill passed the Senate and Assembly floor with bipartisan support. It's a simple fix which will greatly help ag workers in California and bring California's transportation code into the 21st century. I'd ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion or debate? Is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 34. Ayes 36, no 0. The amendments are concurred in. Senator Leno, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
Madam President, for purposes of announcement, please, or request actually, of the author, I would like to remove item number 129, which is AB 973, from the consent calendar for purposes of amendments.
The desk will note.
Thank you.
Members, we have completed our work under unfinished business. Senator Simidian, for what purpose do you rise?
For a committee announcement, if that would be appropriate at this time, Madam President.
Let's hold off for a few more moments. Senator Ashburn, we are now on Senate Bill's third reading file. Do you wish to take up your item at this time?
Yes, Madam President. This is file item 31, Senate Bill 1118.
Secretary, please read file item 31.
Senate Bill 1118 by Senator Ashburn, an act relating to the Political Reform Act of 1974 and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Thank you, Madam President. Senators, this has to do with disclosure of campaign reports received within the final 24 hours of a campaign. This also deals with the periods of time when we are in consideration of the budget and the receipt of campaign contributions during those times that critical legislation is being considered by the legislative body, specifically requiring the disclosure of campaign contributions of $1,000 or greater within 24 hours during the 3 specific times of the year from the May revise until the budget is passed, 15 days before the end of the session, and for the governor during the 30-day bill signing period following the adjournment of the session. These measures are intended to give full disclosure, a better opportunity for the public to understand that which is taking place in the Capitol in the way of campaign contributions and the work of the legislature on behalf of the people. So with an eye to full disclosure and letting the sunshine in, I urge your support for this measure.
Is there any discussion or debate? Is there any objection to using our unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 35, no 0 on the... There is objection. Secretary, call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? Aye. Corbett?
I need an call.
Correa? Aye. Cox? No. Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? Aye. Ducheney? Dutton? Ducheney, aye. Dutton? Emerson? Aye. Flores? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Aye. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Negrete McLeod? No. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Romero?
Aye.
Aye. Runner? Aye. Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Steinberg, aye. Strickland, aye. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee, aye. Cedillo, aye. Corbett, aye.
Ayes 29, noes 3 on the urgency. Ayes 29, noes 3 on the measure. The bill is passed. Members, does any other member have an item to be taken up under Senate Bill third reading file? Senate Bill third reading file. Okay, members, we are now prepared then to lift calls. Sergeants, if we can ask all members, even those who may be in the assembly, if they would be willing to return to the Senate chambers. We are going to lift calls at this time. Under motions and resolutions, without objection, Joint Rule 62A will be suspended so that Transportation and Housing Committee may hear AB 2729 on June 29th without 4 days file notice. Additionally, without objection, pursuant to Joint Rule 33.1, Joint Rules 29.5B and 30.7 will be suspended for the Conference Committee on Assembly Bill 190. This request has been approved by the Rules Committee. Senator Smidian, would you care to announce your committee at this time? We're waiting for a couple of members to return to the Senate floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, the Senate Environmental Quality Committee is in recess in room 112. We will reconvene at 2:45 p.m. We will reconvene 2:45 p.m. Senate Environmental Quality in room 112.
EQ, please note. Senator Negrete McLeod, for what purpose do you rise?
Yes, in the file notice it states that BNP is meeting in room 113, but we're actually going to meet 5 minutes after session in room 3191. That's BNP.
BNP, please note the room change. Senator Runner, for what purpose do you rise?
For while we're waiting an adjourn in memory.
Please proceed.
You know, it seems that last week we just had another adjourn in memory of a CHP officer. I understand that actually another CHP officer has lost their life just very recently. But on Sunday morning, we had another CHP officer, Justin McGrory, who lost his life as he was on duty working in Barstow area. He was standing next to his car. A car came, swerved, pushed the other car into him, and he lost his life. Officer McGrory has been CHP since October 2007, was assigned to the Barstow area office. He's a resident, his family's resident, the city of Victorville. He has served his community bravely, certainly served his family. He is survived by his wife, a 7-year-old daughter, and a 4-year-old son, and a 1-year-old son. It seems like another reminder once again how it is that many of those who go unheralded out there in protecting our safety put their own on the line and at risk. So I ask for us to continue to remember the officer's family. Thank you.
Senator Runner, our deepest condolences, and please bring the name to the desk. Senator Corbett, for what purpose do you rise?
Adjourn in the memory.
Please proceed.
Thank you very much. I rise to adjourn in the memory of Emilio Arturo Pavarini. He died last night at the age of 86 years old. He was born in Soledad, California, and was a lifelong resident there. He served the United States in World War II and was a very proud Navy vet. After returning from the war, he lived his American dream. He started his own business, Soledad Tire and Wheel, which still operates today. He also served in public office for 13 years, with 7 years as the mayor of Soledad. He is survived by his wife of 61 years, Sylvia Pavarini, and his 4 children, including Nancy Pavarini, who many of you know as the senior legislative counsel to the consumer attorneys. I ask that we think of his family as we adjourn in his memory.
Our deepest condolences. Senator Correa, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
Purposes of announcement. PERS Committee will meet at room 2040 about 15 minutes after we adjourn.
Okay, members of the committee, please note. Senator Cedillo, did you have your mic up? For what purpose do you rise?
To close in memory of.
Please proceed.
Julie Butcher is a union leader in Los Angeles. She was head of Local 347 of the Los Angeles City Employees, the Service Employees International Union, now a leader of SEIU 721, representing city employees, both the city of Los Angeles and throughout Southern California. She's a very popular, well-prominent union leader. I actually was on the phone with her and the city attorney last week. She had the incredible misfortune and tragedy of losing her son Thursday. I landed in Los Angeles, noticed as I drove downtown police cars and backed up traffic. 2 medical marijuana dispensaries were robbed, coincidentally, about the same time on Thursday afternoon. And this poor young man, Matthew Benjamin Butcher, a very, as you could imagine, peaceful man, a man who just pleasant, was working there, cooperated with those who broke in, cooperated with the robbers. The reports are that they laid on their floor, face down, let the robbers proceed and go through their business. And regrettably, tragically, unfortunately, these young people were killed. And I cannot imagine the pain and the sorrow that Julie feels and that the city feels for her to lose her son in such an unfortunate circumstance. And so I ask that we adjourn in the memory of this very peaceful, nice young man, Matthew Benjamin Butcher.
Our deepest condolences to Ms. Butcher and her family. Senator Padilla, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you. On the same tribute, I know a lot of us in the Los Angeles delegation have gotten to know Julie over the years, but I think it was just a handful of us that were fortunate really to have met Matt, over the years as a young man. I mean, I've been in office for about 10 and a half, almost 11 years now, to have seen him as a kid coming around the campaign offices, to a teenager coming around City Hall, to, obviously now a young man, but a grown young man. To be lost this way is certainly a tragedy, and I wanted to also express my condolences and
Thank you, Senator
wish only the best for the Butcher family.
Thank you, Senator Padilla. Members, we are going to now lift calls. File item 80. Secretary, please call the absent members.
Ashburn. Cedillo. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Oropesa. Pavley. Aye. Smidian. Walters. Wiggins. Wyland. Ashburn, aye. Cox, no.
Ayes 32, noes 2. The bill is passed. File item 52, call the absent members.
Ashburn, Cedillo, Denham, Flores, Liu, Oropesa, Pavley, Smidian, Wiggins, Wyland. Smidian, aye. Denham, aye. Pavley, aye.
Ayes 28, noes 4. The bill is passed. File item 49, call the absent members.
Calderon, Correa, Cox, Cox, no. Emerson, Flores, Oropesa, Pavley, aye. Wiggins, Wyland. Calderon, aye.
Ayes 21, noes 12. The bill is passed. File item 83, call the absent members.
Denham, Flores, Oropesa, Padilla, aye. Price, aye. Strickland, Wiggins, Wyland.
Ayes 22, noes 11. The bill is passed. File item 20, call the absent members.
Ducheney, Liu, Oropesa, Price, aye. Wiggins, Wolk, no. Wyland.
Ayes 20, noes 14. Senator Yee replaces the call. Members, we have a special consent calendar. It begins at file item 106. We need to call the roll on file item 106. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 2016 by Assemblymember Torres, an act relating to common interest developments.
Call the roll.
Onnested, aye. Alquist, aye. Ashburn, aye. Calderon, aye. Cedillo, aye. Cogdill, aye. Corbett, aye. Correa, Cox, aye. Denham, aye. Desaunier, Ducheney, Dutton, Ducheney, aye. Dutton, aye. Emerson, aye. Flores, Hancock, aye. Harmon, aye. Hollingsworth, aye. Huff, aye. Kehoe, Leno, aye. Liu, aye. Lowenthal, aye. Negrete McLeod, aye. Oropesa, Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Romero,
aye.
Aye. Runner, aye. Smidian, aye. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, aye. Walters, aye. Wiggins, Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Wyland, Yee, aye.
Ayes 32, noes 0. File item 106. The bill is passed without objection. We will use unanimous roll call for all other items remaining on the special consent calendar. Ayes 32, noes 0. The special consent calendar is passed. We have one item remaining one call to be lifted. Senator Hollingsworth, for what purpose do you rise? Senator Leno, for what purpose do you rise?
For purpose of announcement, Madam President.
Please proceed.
I just wanted everyone to know, whether you're in a white suit today or not, that by invitation of the LGBT Legislative Caucus, you are all very welcome to join us at 530 Second Floor Rotunda for our annual Pride celebration with a reception in the Willie Brown Conference Room following the ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Leno. Members, we have one item on call, file item 20. Secretary, please call the absent members.
DeCheney? DeCheney, aye. Liu? Oropesa? Wiggins? Wyland?
Ayes 21, noes 14. The amendments are concurred in. Senator Steinberg, the desk is clear. Senator Hollingsworth, for what purpose do you rise?
To ask that we adjourn in the memory.
Please
Ask that
proceed.
we adjourn in the memory today of Nick Contopoulos of Temecula. He passed away a few weeks ago at the young age of 26. And with the unwavering support of his devoted family, he battled valiantly against a terrible diagnosis of both bipolar disorder and addiction for quite a long time. He was a very gentle man who was greatly loved by his father Jim, his mother Belinda, his sister Vanessa, and many others who were fortunate enough to have known him. And it's an unimaginable blow to all who knew and cared for him. His loved ones, though, are comforted by the conviction that Nick is now in the presence of the Lord and has found finally the peace that has eluded him for so long here on earth.
Our deepest condolences, and please bring the name to the desk. Senator Steinberg, the desk is clear.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Committee work continues as this is the committee deadline this week for policy bills from the Assembly. So committees will begin its work today, check-in tomorrow, check-in Wednesday, Thursday session at 9 o'clock. I know we are meeting, Democrats are meeting in caucus tomorrow at noon. We will make an announcement forthwith about the schedule beyond next Thursday. Suffice it to say that unless something unexpected occurs this week, the summer recess will be at a minimum postponed, if not canceled, and we will be working, I know, the leadership certainly, and the budget chair and the staff's working around the clock as we try to get to a 2010-2011 budget. But we'll have more information on the schedule and expectations for time post this Thursday. Thank you.
The Senate is in recess.